This video is sponsored by Shebop. Shebop is a woman-owned sex toy boutique for everybody, specializing in body-safe products and education. Visit sheboptheshop.com to shop online or take classes.
Our first topic tonight is the influence of pornography. We've probably all heard countless opinions and conversations from people about whether pornography is good or bad. And honestly, to my ears, those conversations always sound kind of moralistic and judgmental on both sides, honestly. So we're going to do something a little different. Let's take porn as a given. It's here, it's accessible, it's not going anywhere. So taking that as a starting place, how does porn influence the sex we have? How does it affect understanding the relationships that we have with others and ourselves? And there's a lot to talk about here. So I'm going to start off by throwing it to Davey. Let's start the conversation with you. As someone who creates its incredible content online, what consideration do you put into the influence your work is going to have on your audience?
Well, when I think about the influence of porn, I was 19, I was a sophomore in college, and I remember this particular moment where I had just had sex with my boyfriend. I was like literally like covered in cum, laying there in the bed in the afterglow. And he looked at me and he's like, "We need to talk." And when you're like 19 years old and covered in cum and your boyfriend says, "We need to talk," it's usually, it's not a good thing. So I'm like, oh God, he's going to break up with me. Like, what is this? And he looks at me and he goes, "Having sex with you is like being in a porn." And he kind of said it with that face, like being in a porn. And I was like, well, like, what do you mean? Because like, if I was successfully emulating what I saw on my computer screen, which I was jerking off to and thought was hot, if I was doing that in the bedroom, then as far as I was concerned, it was like mission accomplished. And he was like, no, like that's not sex. And it took me probably another decade to really start to unravel what he was saying. And that like, I would watch and consume gay porn, which oftentimes is two straight guys bumping their bodies together on camera, like fucking each other as hard as they can, and thinking that that was what sex looked like. And in a vacuum of any like, reasonable sex education, porn kind of fills that. And what we forget is that porn is designed to get you off. It's not necessarily designed to teach you about intimacy or connection or pleasure or how to talk to your partner or all these wonderful things that make sex so joyful. And I think a lot of us are kind of stuck in the rut of like kind of bad porn sex, because like even bad porn sex still feels pretty good sometimes. What's the quote? It's like sex is like pizza. Even when it's bad, it's still pretty good.
Yeah.
So now that I'm in my 30s and as I kind of unpack some of that and unlearn what porn has taught me, sex keeps getting better and better. And I'm like, oh, now this is good sex. And then a year later, no, this is good sex. So that's the good news. But yeah, it has a big impact on people.
Yeah, I think it's key what you said, Davey, that porn is meant to get you off and not to necessarily educate you, but it is where a lot of people get their sex education because there isn't anything else available. It kind of is now as adults, we can seek that out, for instance, what both you and sex educators, what Reid does, things like that, in the Mystery Box show, etc. But when you're coming into your own and learning about your sexuality, you don't know that that's there. That's not really offered to young people, or even it's not really offered in the mainstream to adults either. So porn is what we go to.
I should say that as I feel like the porn that I consumed when I was growing up is different than the porn that's out there now. And Reid, I know we haven't heard much from you yet. Can I ask you to share with us your relationship with porn, if you're comfortable with that?
Oh, am I comfortable with it? Thank you. Thank you for checking in. Yeah, I mean, my relationship, I mean, as a sex geek, as a nerd, and as somebody who's really, really awkward, like the embrace the awkward formula that I'm known for, like I had to come up with that so I could use it during, as I was figuring out who I was. I'm highly insecure and there's a lot of self-talk in my head. And so like for me, porn growing up was like this, thing that you watched late at night on TV when everyone was asleep on the channel that was scrambled HBO back in the day, just hoping to see a boob. And then also, my dad had a big collection of Penthouse Forum and Playboys in the house. So something I'm curious about as somebody who's sex positive and enjoys porn, but it wasn't really something I grew up with, because I'm old enough where, I remember my dad getting a VHS player, and then we had like, Walt Disney's, The Black Hole, which was not a porn. And then realizing, because I think I was probably 11 then, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Like, I wonder if dad has a porn tape, because we didn't have HBO and things like that. And so like, I just scoured the house when everyone was out of the house and found it. And it was Swedish erotica and Svelka it was the first time I'd ever seen sex moving, because before then it was just all pictures were the pornography. And so like, I'm curious, like how we think moving pictures change, because you can see you can hear and see the force and speed, whereas any like explicit pornography when I was growing up, it was a still picture. You didn't get all the other information that we get.
Interesting. Davey, you look like you
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, when I first started consuming porn and seeing, the moving picture that was gay porn, I thought the harder you fuck someone, the better it felt, right? Because when you're watching porn, they're like fucking like bunnies. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. And sure, like as I got older, it's like, oh yeah, sometimes it does feel really good to just like, get the shit pounded out of you. But other times it feels really nice to just be like gently, slowly fucked, or not fucked at all. And that none of these things you're going to know through ESP. Like, you have to have these conversations with your partner.